Okay, let me introduce you to the lecture, at least generally what I'm going to be trying to do today, with your help. This is a work of theater, and theater, if you're not familiar with it, is the most interactive of the arts. You either make a play succeed, or you help a play not succeed by what kind of an audience you are. So if you're going to an audience and the work is serious and you find everything very funny, or if you go to a play and the work is meant to be quite serious and you like a tragedy, this one, or the other way, if you go, that's supposed to be a comedy and you're supposed to be at least smiling or chuckling or giving some signals to the actors that what they're trying to do is getting through, and you don't. You just sit there sort of playing with your mobiles and speaking to each other and doing all that. The whole thing doesn't work. Much of that is the same in lectures at universities, because now of IT and because of mobiles and because students are rarely trained in basic discipline. It becomes very difficult to give a lecture. It's a shame because the skill of listening to lectures is actually extremely important for you to pick up. And if you don't practice it, you'll never learn it. You may, whatever job you get, your boss might tell you, go to this conference, go to this lecture, and come back and give me a report on it. And you go there and you get bored and you start playing with your mobile and you're sending messages, and then you come back and you say, oh, I was so bored, I couldn't get anything. He probably won't promote you or give you that bonus at the end of the year. So all this is just to say, please do help, not just myself, but anybody lecturing. It's not an easy task, and do try to, cooperate by listening. I've called this Sophocles' tragic vision of human existence. And this is because the way I understand 205 is that the very first part of it is to introduce you to some of the most basic understandings of human life that came out of the Greek world, and especially that focused in the in the Athenian world, which we're now coming into with Sophocles and then with Plato. The Athenian experience was an extremely important one in the history of humanity. It produced great art, great theater, great philosophy, great science, great music, great political experimentation, democracy. We're now in the world of democracy, one of the first attempts at democracy as a way of governing and ruling a socioeconomic political situation. And so what do we do in a course like this with such little time? We try to introduce you to major ways that human beings living at this time and in the context that we'll try to give you, from Homer to now Sophocles and then Plato. What did they make of human life? What meaning did they think human life gave? Because we always ask that question. You and I, whether now we're conscious of it or not, and coming into university, hopefully that's one of the main things a university is supposed to be, not a technological school where you just get a degree to get employed. In fact, you won't get employed if you don't take humanities seriously nowadays. They look for it to see who's best prepared to do this sort of thing. But the questions we ask that humans have been asking from Gilgamesh to Homer, to now Sophocles, and then into Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle that you get in this first part of 205, the introduction basically into some of the Greek world. The meaning of life that they asked basic questions about meaning of life, the same as we ask today. And they came to many answers, of course, and many different approaches, but two major ones which live on into the world of today. I'm calling the tragic and the rationalistic. The rationalistic you'll get when you get into Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. The world is basically rational. When we are rational, we're in sync, we're in harmony with the cosmos, with the universe, and therefore the more rational we are, the happier we will be, the more successful we will be, etc. Now, what about the tragic? The tragic were living at the same time. They were influenced, just like the rationalists, by the Homeric understanding of the world and the universe and everything. They all shared the common focus on human reason, that human reason was so very, very important. They also focused on the polis, now in Athens, the human society, without which I can't be a human. I cannot be an individual on my own and be fully human. I am part of a community, the polis. They both shared this, the tragic and the rationalistic, concern for the use of reason properly, how important reason is, the focus on the community and the individual within the community as an integral part of the community, and not able to really discover ourselves and be fulfilled except in the community. And they also shared a third item, and that is that the god Apollo, who becomes the major god in this particular work, Sophocles was a priest of Apollo. He was also a general in the army of Pericles, and he was a great dramatist. So these three great things show you what kind of human beings came out of this world of Athens. You know, a well-rounded human being, someone who could be a priest of Apollo, who could be a great poet, tragic poet, dramatist, and someone who could also be a great general when he needed to be in the army. So, the tragic understanding of life. These people shared many things. Both of them believed humans should use their reason. Both believed that the polis is so important, the community. They both believed in the god Apollo. And the god Apollo represented a way of life. You should live your life, certainly if you're a thinker, if you're an intellectual, if you're whatever you are, at whatever level, but certainly if you claim to be an intellectual or a thinker or a true artist, you will want to be gearing your life in a reflective way and following two major commandments, I call them. You know, you have the 10 commandments in monotheism. Here you have the 2 commandments. Know thyself, which means get to know who you are. Know what your identity is. Don't take it for granted. Don't just accept whatever is said to you, but test it, investigate it, go for it, and be ready to suffer for it. No pain, no gain. Same thing, the second commandment is whatever you are doing it in the best possible way. Balance is best, and as we'll see, balance is the most difficult thing to do. It's much easier to be imbalanced. So balance, and whatever you're doing, you're a student, do it in the best possible way. You're a political leader like Oedipus, do it in the best possible way. All right? That's the second commandment. The first one is, whoever you are you an Oedipus, like what this play will tell us? Who are you? You're told certain things about yourself. Are you simply going to accept it? No, he investigates it, he tests it, he tries to find out more and more profoundly and deeply who he is as a thing. So these 3 things that are on the first sheet of your fly sheet now. If you take a look at the fly sheet, and that's, if I can help you understand these things on the first page of the fly sheet, the rest of it you can then read on your own and make some sense of. On the very first page, I have Homer's Cosmos, I have the Polis, and I have Apollo. If you notice those 3 things on the first page of the fly sheet. Homer's Cosmos tells us that Homer had taught them all. Those who had a tragic understanding of life, and those who had a rationalistic understanding of life, they all learned from Homer. Homer was the educator of the Greeks. All right, Herodotus tells us this. Plato mentions this. That this is the one who stamped the understanding of life in the broadest sense on the minds and lives of the Greeks. Now, Homer's Cosmos, which you've had supposedly in Homer, maybe you haven't had it focusedly, but we'll talk more about it. Primarily, I want to just give you the main items of it before I go into details, whatever time I'll have left. I hope you can just sort of listen and follow and try to understand these basic points. Basically, Homer's Cosmos is one of the major reasons why we have science and philosophy. It was because he posited the world as not just all these gods, and you never know what they're doing, polytheism, and each of these gods and the curses they have, and you've got to be very careful which god you're upsetting, which god, try to see which god will be nice to you, like, you know, Athene to Odysseus, but be careful, Poseidon might be against you, and etc. The whole atmosphere of their polytheism and their polytheistic culture. Homer, by the attestation of the Greeks themselves, gave order to this whole world. And he gave artistic order, first of all. He defined the gods. Let me now start to use some of these things here so I can speak a bit about that first item, the cosmos. I've been speaking a little bit about the polis and Apollo. They're both on that sheet there. But now let's talk about, well, what's the whole world we live in? What's it like? How are we to understand the cosmos? The cosmos itself meant, the word itself meant order. But order always connotated beauty. Connotated beauty. The connotation was beauty. Order and beauty. What's orderly is beautiful. What's beautiful is orderly. What's disorderly is ugly. What's ugly is disorderly. All right, so order, very, very important. Leading into that there's lawfulness in this universe we live in. It's not just a chaotic universe, not just a random universe. All right, he Homer identified all of this. Let me give you some of the things, at least in this way now. Let's see if I can. All right, these are some of the gods you should be familiar with: Zeus, Hades, Poseidon, Athene, Aphrodite, myself down there. Herodotus, the great historian who wrote about Thucydides. If you ever take 201, you'll be getting one of these people, usually Thucydides. Athens now, the golden age of Pericles. I told you he was a general. Pericles became a symbol for a great leader who, as much as possible, combined power and wisdom. So he becomes, when you read Plato, this will be in the background of Plato's mind when he's seeking in the Republic, which you'll be reading, how can we bring rulers to be wise, not just powerful? And how can we bring the powerful to be wise? How can we bring the wise to be powerful? This is the real main issue in Plato, which you'll be dealing with. But Pericles seemed to have been for them, amongst other rulers that they've had, a very great ruler who was able to bring together wisdom and power together. Now, in this 100-year period, which is usually related to him, the age of Pericles in Athens, and that's the Acropolis there, you had history, philosophy, and drama. These are three great fields that we pursue even today. Socrates, of course, for philosophy. You'll be coming to that with that. Thucydides, since you're not doing history in 205 and don't have time for that, but the great historian Thucydides, and Sophocles, the dramatist. Aeschylus, Euripides, and Prometheus. These names are on the top of your fly sheet. These are the three great tragedians are Sophocles, Aeschylus, and Euripides. All right. Prometheus becomes the legendary hero, who becomes the icon of a tragic hero, a role model for us if I want to follow the best of what the tragic poets are trying to tell us how to live. And this lives on into the 21st century, right? Atheistic existentialism in the 20th century, things like that. Not just your garden variety atheism, an abstraction, there's no God or something, but rather a tragic view of atheism where you have to be God. This was Nietzsche. God is dead, well, we have to be God. It wasn't just God is dead, so you can be atheistic and do what you like. I call this garden variety atheism. Very nice, I respect people who are like that. But this kind of atheism in the 20th, or through, wherever there was this, tragic atheism, insists on you being a Prometheus in your life, recognizing the world will not give you anything. The world is not for you. That's the aspect of tragedy. But you yourself can be great. This is a challenge for you as a human being. Be like Prometheus. Any of you ever heard of Prometheus? You know who Prometheus is, what the legend is? What did he bring to mankind? Anybody heard of Prometheus? Fire. You see, imagine what life would be like without fire. The gods, for whatever reason, didn't want to give fire to humanity. Prometheus sneaks in at the risk of his own life, and he suffers for it. That's what that icon shows there. He steals fire, and he gives fire to humanity. He's the best. The human being has to do something for humanity. Don't sit around waiting for a God to do something for you or somebody else. You have to get off your benches and do something for humanity. We'll see is a major sort of, I think, message of the tragic understanding of human life. So Prometheus pays the price. He is tied to a rock, and an eagle comes and pecks away at his liver every day. And the next morning the liver grows back, and an eagle comes back and pecks away at his liver forever and ever and ever. See, this is symbolism. This is mythos. This is the use of the creative imagination of the human mind to say serious things. Mythos is not myth. Mythology is not myth. Myth is, the way we use it today, means a lie, something that's not true. Mythology is dead serious. It's the way many cultures had no other way of expressing the deepest understandings of human life. And so in the first part of this course that you're taking, 205, you had Gilgamesh, you had Homer, now you'll have Sophocles, making use of mythos, making use of mythology, making use of the gods, and making use of things like that to express very serious truths about human life. And I've just gone to this one now, one truth about human life of the tragic. And I'm hoping to show you that that's what Oedipus is all about. This is what Sophocles is trying to tell you. Take a look at Oedipus. Oedipus is your role model. Oedipus is your current Prometheus. All right? He's doing his best. He's seeking to know who he is. He's doing the best as a political leader. He's not just taking things for granted. He's told he's going to kill his father, marry his mother. He doesn't just sit around with his zipper open and a knife in his hand waiting for the day that he's going to sleep with his mother and kill his father. He doesn't, but he tests it. He investigates. He doesn't just accept stupid things. All right? This is the same thing with Gilgamesh. He's told, oh no, you can't have immortality. Oh, Habibi, fine. That's a nice word for you to say, but you're giving me nothing else. What am I going to live for? You know, I have everything. It's not satisfying me. I'm going to find the answer to that. You know, he doesn't find it. Tragic. The world doesn't help him find it, but he as a human is great. We talk about Gilgamesh, he's a great hero, all right? Similarly now with Oedipus, with Sophocles, he's giving us Oedipus, he gives Antigone, the great heroes he gives us, all have this built into them. The world is not out there to help the hero. The gods punish Prometheus, all right? But Prometheus does it anyway. He knows he's going to get punished, but he goes in, he gets fire for humanity. Oedipus knows that the world isn't necessarily going to help him. Tiresias starts to warn him. His mother then tells him, oh, you know, be careful, stop looking for the truth. If you've read the story, when you read it, I hope you see these things. Everybody starts to tell him, you know, don't do it. He insists. He's a Prometheus figure. And this is the heart, the message of tragedy, which you can, you know, which you look at, you understand, and you see how you want to apply it to your own life, to your own day. It's not just something that some stupid people in the past thought about. It has, you know, it has influenced people all through the centuries. Cocteau, Oedipus, who of course finds his Oedipus complex there, but Sophocles was not interested in Oedipus complex. He was interested in this tragic Promethean view of who we are as human beings. Comedy was found here. This Aristophanes, they're making fun of Socrates in Aristophanes' The Clouds. You know, great things came at this time, not just tragedy, but comedy as well. Democracy, all right? The Parthenon, the temple to Athene. Apollo and Dionysus, two great gods that Nietzsche later on will talk about. This is the place where plays took place, this kind of thing. Typical theater. This is not a theater, this is an auditorium. We cried our hearts out when it was made because we thought we were getting a theater at AUB. You still have to go up to LAU to see real theaters. This is what a theater is really made of because it's interactive. You're close to the action. See, other than the back, I don't know what you're doing. This is close enough. Sometimes the auditoriums even, but you know, there's alienation between the actors and the audience. You know, the good theaters now, if you go to Gulbenkian up at LAU, for example, they bring you closer to the action. So you're interacting with them. They're feeling what you're doing. The actors, you're creating the whole work together. And this was where all the free people of the polis, all the free citizens, would come out to see what their great poets, how they would interpret human life for them, really. They weren't just coming out to watch a play. It's entertainment, of course. But in the great works that they had and their great people, they came out to see how was Sophocles now going to reinvent the legend of Oedipus. They all knew the legend of Oedipus, this great king who was fated to kill his father and marry his mother. All right, that's just the legend. But then how do you do it? How do you work it into a play here? You know, and how do you do that to tell your current audience? How do you update it? So you tell your current audience what they should be thinking about human life through your reinterpretation and updating of the Oedipus story. This is, you know, great. When you're just reading the text, you might miss the point. This was great theater. This was great action, and they brought in like multimedia, you know, bringing in dancing and masks, and you know, the best of theater in the late 20th century became total theater, where we started to use all the various media together, not just the text, and not just, although the heart of theater should always be the text and the actors. But this is just some examples of modern plays. We did this play here in the years of 2000 or something like that. We did it at Gulbenkian in 1973. Big difference. Gulbenkian was really a wonderful experience. Here we had to suffer with using this place to try to do some of the things you see here. This is what I referred to before. The Homer and Hesiod, from the historian Herodotus, created the genealogy of the gods by providing the gods with epithets, assigning them their functions and honors, clarifying their shapes. So the gods now are the creation, or putting them in the organization, if you like, of Homer and Cosmos and Hesiod. The shared cosmos. This is the second thing now about the cosmos. It's shared. It's a structure. It has laws in it. Therefore, later we can study it scientifically and discover all of its laws and all of it. It's not just random. But now, humanly speaking, now comes the interpretations. It's shared. There's no one absolute power in this cosmos. Zeus cannot force Poseidon to do what Poseidon does not want to do. Athene cannot help Odysseus, remember? while he's on the sea, because the sea is the share of Poseidon. This notion of life as a shared out structure where keeping the order and keeping beauty is the most important thing for human life. All right? This is what Homer gave for science and philosophy, so that we can study it, and law, and find law there, and hope that to find, the laws there. But for humans also, that this is, it's a shared universe. You are part of this universe. You are shared in it. This is why there's no fate here, in the stupid sense of fate, of silly determinism that applies to things but not to humans. All right, the human has his share. The human has a share in what happens in the cosmos. The human has a share, a major share, a Promethean share, in what happens in human life, in the polis, in humanity. So the gods have to share their power. Zeus is the prominent god, the god of the sky. Poseidon, the god of the sea. Hades, the god of what happens to people after death. Hades, he's the prominent god, Zeus, but he cannot force anybody to do something that's not proper to their share, which he does not set. The shares were just allotted. Look at this. This is from the Iliad of Homer. Zeus is trying to get Poseidon to do something Poseidon doesn't want to do. Does he say, "Litakun mashi'atak," you're the great God, whatever you say, baby. He says, no. Great though he, Zeus, is, this that he has said is too much. If he will force me against my will, me who am his equal in rank, since we're three brothers born by Rhea and Kronos. Oh, I love mythology. Kronos. Zeus imprisons Kronos because Kronos goes against justice at some point in the mythology. This is fun. And then Kronos castrates Uranus, his father. See, they kept trying to figure out, well, where do things all come from finally? Kronos was a good starter because that means time. But Kronos had Uranus before him. There was no beginning in the universe is just there. The cosmos is just there. And their mythology and their stories. But Homer's story gives you now clarity, gives you structure, gives you shape, and gives limitations. Everything is limited. If you will force me against my will, me who am his equal in rank, since we are three brothers born by Rhea and Kronos, Zeus and I, Poseidon, and the third is Hades, Lord of the dead men. All, you see the big all there. Homer put all in capital letters and made it red and bold, you see. All, that means everything there is, you see, was divided among us three ways. There's nothing outside of it. Right? Everything is part of it. There's no God who's creating the world outside of it and is separate from it and free to do and change things and forgive and mabarif shu and love you and all that. This is a foreign notion to this understanding of the divine. The divine is the cosmos, finally. The gods are simply part of the universe itself. All was divided among us three ways, each given his domain. Everything has a domain. You and I have a domain. Oedipus has a domain. The human as such has a domain. And within that domain we share. And we either share actively in making the universe a more beautiful universe, a more orderly universe, or we share in making it ugly, etc. Oedipus in the story makes it ugly, but then through his Promethean heroism, makes it beautiful again. I'm throwing these things out at you. If you've read it, if you know the story, you might mean something to you at this point. Just, let me say what I say. I, Poseidon, when the lots were shaken. So why are they like that? They didn't ever answer that. That's just the way things are. That's the given. That's the way things are. The given order of things. The G-O-T, not G-O-D, God. The G-O-T, the given order of things. That's just the way things are. And everybody has to fit in. Everything that exists, all exists within this. I, when the lots were shaken, drew the gray sea. Hades drew the lot of the mist and darkness. Zeus was the lot of the white sky, in the cloud and the bright air. Earth and high Olympus are common to all three. That's where Prometheus sneaks in. That's their country club, Mount Olympus. He sneaks in at night when they're drunk or something. He steals fire and brings it out to humanity. Therefore, I am no part of the mind of Zeus. Let him in tranquility, and powerful as he is, stay satisfied with his third share. This is a doctrinal statement in the Iliad, if you like. They're all on the web by if I don't get through them. So, looking at your fly sheet, and just from up here, you can see them on your fly sheet later. The first aspect for us humans is the cosmos isn't made for us. Don't think that, you should be happy. When you do great things, or you do heroic things, or you sacrifice, or you do the right thing, you're going to be rewarded. Why do you have such a mentality? The cosmos speaking to you. Who told you that that's the kind of universe you're living in? All right? And so you get here two of the main things that Sophocles is telling us about this in his own words. through the chorus, lines 13, 17 to 19, and the very end of the play, just in case we still haven't gotten it, the last chorus tries to tell you, please listen to me about Oedipus, not what you read in textbooks or your favorite theory about Greek thought. Listen to me, read the text. That's what we do in CVSP. All theories are possible, but look at the text. Try to put the text, let the people speak for themselves, and then, you can compare your interpretations with others, and then you get enriched by seeing there are many interpretations. You are my great example, the chorus tell him. You, your life, your destiny. Oedipus, man of misery. I count no man blessed. This is at the climax of the play. All right, now I have to rush through things. I'm sorry. The play is about Oedipus is told he's going to kill his father, marry his mother. At a drunken party or something on a Friday night at university or something. Somebody sort of thought, oh yeah, you think you're so hot, you're going to kill your father. And he had never heard this prophecy because his parents, the king and queen, had never told him that they had adopted him. Why had they adopted him? He thought he was their actual son. Why had they adopted him? Because another king and queen in Thebes, where we now find him, had heard the prophecy of Apollo, and as soon as they had a child, they wanted to get rid of that child so that child could never fulfill the prophecy. So they tried to have the child exposed up in all this is in the story, but the shepherd who's supposed to leave the child out to die gives the child to a shepherd of the king and queen of Corinth because they haven't had children, and they'll adopt the child, instead of killing it. And that child grows up, and that's Oedipus. Now, Oedipus is in the wrong place. He thinks he's with his parents. But heck, he hears he's going to kill his father, marry his mother. What does he do? He goes to Apollo. Right, he's a very fine man, religious man, What does Apollo do? Okay. These are the end of the things telling you that what Sophocles is trying to tell you. People of Thebes, my countrymen, look on Oedipus. He solved the famous riddle with his brilliance. He rose to power, a man beyond all power. Who could behold his greatness without envy? That's who he is, wonderful man. And Sophocles takes pains to present him this way all through the play. He's human, so he makes great mistakes. And that's what Sophocles is telling us about. He makes huge mistakes with his reason. But he, as a moral man, as an intelligent man, following Apollo, trying to do his best, etc., he's the perfect model. And he saves the polis twice in this story. And so, but now, what reward does he get? Think of this for your own life, in other words. Prometheus. Now what a black sea of terror has overwhelmed him. Now, as we keep our watch and wait the final day, count no man happy till he dies, free of pain at last. So if you don't get the message, at the very end, he has the chorus, Sophocles has the chorus come out and tell you, please listen to what I'm trying to tell you. So it's impersonal, it's not made for us, it's ambiguous, you never quite know what's going on. Even the prophet, there's so many charlatans, you never can tell whether you're Layla Abdul Latif or whether you're Maggie Farah or whether you're Mabar Fawdi, Michelle Hayek, etc., if they're going to ever fool you or not and sort of lead you down the wrong range so they can keep making millions of dollars off you. You can't tell that a human being could have such power. Justice is the cosmic order of things, that's all. Justice isn't sort of being fair to Oedipus. Haram, he didn't know what he was doing. What does he do? He goes to, what happens to Oedipus is the mechanism of justice. You see, this is justice in the tragic world. Justice has to be defined. Don't just use the term as if it applies everywhere in the same way. In this tragic Homeric world, justice simply is the cosmic order of things. When things are in the right order, that's justice. When they're not in the right order, that's not justice. The human being doesn't factor into this. That's the problem. That's the tragic aspect. Like with Gilgamesh, he did his best, but he wasn't rewarded. Right? But he helped. He's the only one who brings wonderful things back in the Gilgamesh story. Without him, they wouldn't have all this information. But he suffers. He pays for it. No pain, no gain. He goes to Apollo. Apollo fails to inform him of his true parents. So unknowingly, he kills his father in self-defense and weds his mother in good faith. Running away from, but I wanted you to see what Sophocles says about Apollo, so you don't think they thought their gods were so wonderful. Look at this is about the gods. Text from your text, the bottom one, lines 868 to 75. So unknown to mother and father, and when he hears this message, he's going to kill his father. He didn't want to go to them, staha. So يروح لماما أنا بدي أنام معك وبابا بدي أطلق don't sort of start to say, oh, he should have done this or he should have done that. See what this author is trying to help you understand through the limited analogies of mythos, of storytelling. Unknown to mother and father, I set out for Delphi. That's the main place where you get information. And the god Apollo spurned me. Didn't welcome him, didn't help him, didn't comfort him. Spurned me, sent me away, denied the facts I came for. But not just that. He didn't just deny him and spurn him and didn't help him. La'im. He flashed before my eyes a future great with pain, terror, disaster. I can hear him cry, you are fated to couple with your mother. You will bring a breed of children into the light no man can bear to see. You will kill your father. Yeah, ugly, ugly, ugly disorder. You see, blah, blah, blah. The whole universe is shaking, right? This is how they saw their gods, you say. You have to see how they saw their gods, not how we see gods or how we wish they saw their gods or how we put them into some kind of a fancy theory. Theories are wonderful. That's why these things are great, because they lead to theories. But see what they're saying. Let the people speak for themselves. In CVSB. The gods above, Zeus, great welcome voice of Zeus, what do you bring? The first, some of the first choruses. Racked with terror, not the fear of God, the awe, the respect, the gratitude, the fear of God in a positive way. Fear here is terror. These gods make you, terror shakes my heart, and I cry your wild cries. Apollo, healer of Delos, I worship you in dread. You are a healer, but you're also a source of horror. What now is your price? Some new sacrifice? Some ancient rite from the past come round again each spring? Curses? Something had happened to an ancestor of Oedipus, so now he has to pay the price. The curse is falling down on Oedipus. What will you bring to earth? So this is their view of the divine within the cosmos, parts of the cosmos. They have shares within the cosmos. They're supposed to do what they're supposed to do in the cosmos to maintain the beauty and the order, but they're not seen now in the tragic world as good or perfect or benevolent or anything like that. They're just powers. They're just parts of this universe. Tsunami, earthquake in the physical world, okay. And your gods also are sort of, they do some good things for you. Yeah, they give you food, the earth gives you food and drink and all that, but it also gives you tsunamis and, this is the kind of conception. The polis, so basically then, what I want to focus on is focus on Prometheus, focus on the character of Oedipus as Sophocles presents him. When you see the word pride, it's being used for tyrants who refuse to do anything. Look at how Sophocles presents Oedipus. Oedipus is, right from the beginning, the way, because we did this twice, so when you discover each word, you get away from your theories in philosophy. Because I have plenty of theories about tragedy. I did it twice, first in 73 when I was still young, and so that helped me to really try to understand what Sophocles was saying. And I did it recently. From the beginning to end, Sophocles is taking the trouble to tell you, don't mistake it, this guy is not wicked. This guy is not stupid. This guy should, don't say, oh, he should have done this, or he should have done that, or he could have been more intelligent. This is the best you could be, baby. You can't be better than this. This is your model. All right? But what does it mean to be this model? It means you'll have dignity for yourself, you'll make a name for yourself, self-respect, you'll be honored throughout history, immortality of name, all right? And most importantly for the Athenian Greek, the polis. You will benefit mankind. The polis now meant for them really what we understand today by humanity, all right? That's worth living for. That gives meaning to life, you see. You don't have to choose it. Everybody in the play doesn't choose it. This is the contest between Oedipus, the role model, the Promethean role model, and every other character, and first of all Tiresias, the prophet, who don't give a hoot about the polis. They're only concerned for their own skin. Pain. This is going to cause me pain, so I won't give you the truth. When does Tiresias finally give the truth? When Oedipus insults him. Insult me? You know who I am? I'm going to tell you now. You're going to kill your father, marry your mother. See, this is when you read, I hope you see these things. And if you don't see them, that's also fine. And I'm sure your teachers have very different interpretations of text. But I'd like you to, give it a thought. Read seriously what's being said. Look at the interaction between Tiresias and Oedipus. He begs him on his knees coming in. Oedipus receives him. So on all this, and please come and help us. You're the only one who can save the polis, the city. The polis always. Notice, this is an empirical study of text, which we had to do when we were trained as theater. You don't just play a part, generally. You do an empirical study. What does the author say empirically about this character? What words are being used? What's identified with him? From beginning to end, the city, the city, the city, the city. What was the key word for Tiresias? Pain, 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 pain. All right? And this is the battle in humanity. We naturally want to avoid pain. All right? But if we all are seeking to avoid pain, we wouldn't have the world we lived in today, for one thing, where most of us are parasites on the people who go through the pain to give us the world we live in. So the message there is that Oedipus represents the Promethean aspect of the human being, where regardless of whether you're going to be rewarded or not, notice at a certain moment he could have stopped the search when Tiresias tells him it's you, and then especially when his mother discovers that she's his mother, his wife, she tells him, stop the search. He could have stopped the search, because now he realizes it's going to harm him. He refuses, and this is how Sophocles presents it. He refuses to sacrifice the polis and to sacrifice the truth to save his skin, for his own pain. Now this is a very difficult way of life, but that's the possibility of human beings for the tragic understanding of life. That's the meaning when Nietzsche says God is dead. He then tells you, you have to be God. All right? It's not a passport to sort of saying, now you can do whatever you like. It's more of an indication, like Nietzsche was doing much later on. Waking up his soporific society, which had become so comfort zone and ease and hypocrisy and all of this, trying to get them to be Promethean again. This is the one thing that runs through. You can connect these things if you go through CVSP. So basically then he winds up discovering the truth. He is the one who is the source of the plague. 2 plagues. The first plague, this is the sort of thing you get at Apollo. The sun will rise in the east tomorrow. Oedipus will kill his father, marry his mother. Socrates is the wisest man in Athens. You're going to see that when you get to Plato. And see, just in case you've never heard this prophecy, the great truth, CVSP is the most enjoyable and beneficial program in the cosmos. And for the latest revelations, log on to www.oracleadelphia.com. Okay, so that's the most important thing in this lecture. Know thyself, balance is best. A call to excellence, a call to go against our natural desire to just survive, comfort, pleasure, and pain, or what's our masters of life, as utilitarianism teaches us. This is denying that. You may disagree with it, of course, but understand it. The story I've been telling you. This is the first plague when he's running away from home, thinking he's going to avoid kill his father and marry his mother. This is what he does, you see. He uses his reason. And this is what the tragedian is saying to their rationalist friends. Reason is wonderful. Oedipus used his reason. If he didn't use his reason, no wonderful thing would happen. But reason is severely limited. It's never going to know the cosmos. It's never going to know how the world works. The cosmos is not rationalistic. The cosmos will not necessarily harmonize with you. So using his mind, he runs away from home. What does he do? On the way, he's attacked by Range Rovers and motorcycles. They had them in those days, and big shots and all this. When they pass, and one of them, the leader, attacks him, and he defends himself. In self-defense, he kills the guy, and he kills them all except for one. It's a story. Somebody has to tell the story. One survivor, but he kills them all. And then, coming now into Thebes, there's this Sphinx, the first curse in the play. That you see, that is the background to the play. This monster had set itself at the gateway of Thebes, and no handsome young man like myself, not like you old creeps in there, could come in or out of Thebes without a sexual embrace. All right? But how did she get the sexual embrace? She gives them a test, a drop test, a drop quiz. What walks on 4 feet at dawn, 2 at noon, and 3 at dusk? Handsome. Okay, this is when you play, in action, it's much more fun when you bring these things to life. So, what do you think he said? The human, all right? So what? Well, nobody had taken CS and didn't know the answer in those days. So the only one who could answer the thing was Oedipus. See, but the symbolism is, this is the only one, this is the man who's using reason at the highest level a human can possibly use reason. But is that enough? That's the tragic gap. The rational says, yes, it will be enough. The tragic, contests this. And because of the way the cosmos works, you see, everything is shared, everything is limited, the curse is lifted, and he saves Thebes. So, saving Thebes, he comes in, they welcome him, they elect him, it's a democracy, they elect him king. Why? Because they've just received news before he got there that their king was killed. Who was their king? The guy he killed. And who was the king? His father as well. All right? You see, this is unknown, the ambiguity, you don't know what's going on. It's not wickedness. It's not sort of conscious or stupid use of reason or something. It's ambiguity. The world you live in a tragic world, is ambiguous. Absurd is just a part of the great ambiguity of the tragic. Right? It's a wonderful, I'm not preaching it by the way I'm teaching it. It's not my view of life. I hope you don't wind up with there. But I do want to understand it. I want you all to try to understand it as I have come to understand and appreciate it and respect it, even though it's not my just personal view of life. The story continues. He's saved Thebes, triumphant entry into Thebes. He's elected Tyrannus, and that's the title of the work. Oedipus Tyrannus, not tyrant. Tyrannus meant an elected ruler, and he was proud of that. He made himself. He wasn't, just the son of a king. Now follows an ideal reign as leader and protector of the polis. Sophocles presents him as the perfect leader. Read how Sophocles introduces him at the beginning of the play. The wonderful leader, and all the way through. Trouble, however, there's a new plague. What was the plague? I don't know, maybe swine flu, I don't know, bird flu, but there was a plague anyway. Ha ha ha. I'm very funny, at least I laugh at my own jokes. Oedipus is up to the channel. He sends Creon to Delphi. See, he does the right thing. He's a ruler does what he should do. He sends to the divine source at Delphi. He calls for the prophetic source to bring Tiresias in. He brings in all the eyewitnesses. Notice how Sophocles presents him. He's the ideal ruler. Right? He's doing the ideal rational ruler. All right? He sends Creon. They find out their king was assassinated. It hasn't been avenged. Remember the cosmos. The cosmos is only interested in maintaining its own order. And now a king has been killed and has not been avenged. Somebody has to pay the price. It doesn't matter if they want to kill, or they would be in a court of law today considered guilty. There's objective guilt and there's subjective guilt. Here there's only objective guilt. Didn't know what you're doing, trying to do something good, but it happened accidentally, extenuating circumstances, blah, blah, blah. The cosmos is only interested, the universe we live in is only interested in maintaining its own basic order. Therefore, there is nemesis, not a rock band, but nemesis is the inevitable retribution that has to happen in the cosmos so that you can get back to the order. Why did we choose Oedipus? Well, he's the son of somebody who did something in the past and wasn't avenged. All right, so now paying the price falls on him. Well, it has to fall on somebody. It falls on our friend Oedipus. The story continues. Oedipus reprimands Creon and the Ancien regime. He now uses his mind politically. Lebanese and others as well, but I can only talk about my own country. All right, conspiracy theory. All right. Creon, you were the leader when your king was killed and you didn't you didn't restore the order? I didn't sleep well that night, the electricity went off and I couldn't study, sir, and blah, blah, blah. Excuses, that's what he does. That's how, this is how the play progresses. And so now Creon has already caused Oedipus to wonder, what are these guys doing? They leave their king unavenged, and then he brings in the prophet. That's the key to understanding the text with the prophet. He doesn't insult the prophet. He doesn't get angry at the prophet. His pride and his anger. If he doesn't get angry at that point, he's not a good ruler. He's not a good human even. The prophet comes in and says, I know the answer to the plague. The plague is destroying the polis, destroying humanity. I have the answer. But now I see it's going to cause me pain, so I'm not going to tell you. Pain, Habibi? And the polis, humanity is at stake, and you're worried about pain, And so the conversation goes on until Oedipus insults him. When Oedipus insults him, you're talking to Tiresias the prophet. Hey, you're going to kill your father. You're going to marry your mother. So, of course, you see, his political mind now works. Conspiracy. The religious leader and the political leader, the two of them, they didn't do anything at the time the king was assassinated. There must be a plot. They thought they would take over. They killed the king and thought they would rule Thebes. What happens? I spoil their fun. I come in at that moment. The people elect me. And this is what happens. You see how the mind can lead you in different, but it's understandable. Put yourself in his place. That's what Sophocles is trying to get you to see. Not that he's stupid. Had he not done what he did, Thebes would still, the polis here, would still be under the curse. The fact that he does what he does, saves humanity, gives himself self-respect and dignity, satisfies the two commandments of Apollo, but gets himself tied to a rock and have the eagle peck away at his liver. All right? He winds up exiling himself because he takes responsibility. Notice that. There's not determinism. They tell him, which god made you do it? We always want to blame somebody. Oedipus says, Apollo, the cosmos. It's not just me. But it was my own hand that did it, you see. It was not either or. Are we free or are we determined? Homer was not stupid. He was descriptive. Humans are both determined and free. Homer never had a philosophical or theological problem about reconciling an abstract notion of determinism with an abstract notion of freedom. He was human, descriptive. Humans are both. We're limited, we're determined, we're not independent, we should be autonomous. But we are active, we have proactive, we can make choices, we can decide to do our share excellently or mediocrely. This is the thing. When we do it excellently, we help this cosmos be in order. That's what Oedipus does. By doing everything he does properly, at the end of the thing, the cosmos is back in order. The curse is lifted, everything is back. So we do something for humanity when we do what we're supposed to do. But will we be rewarded? That's the big challenge, because most of our life, in other words, we're like Tiresias and the wife and the shepherd. As soon as we feel something's going to harm us, to hell with the rest of the world, I save my own skin or something. This is what the tragic message of this particular play of Sophocles, but I find it in much of what is called tragic literature throughout the centuries. I certainly find it once again in Nietzsche and in atheistic existentialism in the 20th century. Right? Again, I'm not preaching it, right? And I hope that's what doesn't happen in CVSP. Anybody preaches at you anything. We try to expose you to very important ways of thinking. They may be very different from our own. We may have disagreed with them. But we expose you to them. We ask you, please look at the text themselves, let the people speak for themselves, and then look at secondary theories and how people later on, using them and being inspired by them, think. For instance, Freud will take the Oedipus story for his famous Oedipus complex. Does it have anything to do with Sophocles? Is that what Sophocles was concerned about? The fact that every male child will fall in love with their mother possessively and want to have sex with them as well. This was Freud. So Freud was inspired by this. Cocteau writes, there were many Oedipus stories throughout. Each one being inspired by Sophocles' initial one. So I'm sure I've run out of time. I thank you for your attention. You have helped me not to... No, I have 2 more minutes. How much is that? 60 and 60. 1, 2, 3, 120 seconds. Whew. You're my slaves. But free, you see. You could have just walked out if you like. It's nice to have free people with you. So look at some of these things that I've been saying. The whole fly sheet is kind of a systematic exposition of everything I've been trying to tell you with references from the thing for you to think about, not to take as the final truth about Oedipus, but one way that represents an important way that people have understood this particular work throughout and into our own day today. The very end of it is the bullet points at the top are really here, because the last word on page 3 is conclusion. Couldn't get it up at the top of this page, sorry. But in conclusion, these bullet points here are a way of helping you review sort of the thought part of all of this. What does it mean? And see what you can get from it. Thank you.
Did you shut it down?
No.